Welcome to the TLW Podcast. I am Jonathan Pixley here with my partner, Dr. Sean Owens. Dr. Owens, welcome back as always.
What's up, Coach? How we doing?
We have Jace Augustus with JCB Media, our other partner behind the scenes, running the show for us as always. Thank you, Jace. Today, with a very new setup, as you can see, those of you who have followed the pod to date, we have the people who actually own the building that we are in, first of all, and also run the business within it and bring a ton to our community. Doctors Dustin and Liz Kidder, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thrilled to be here.
I can tell.
So
we appreciate it. So these two individuals obviously have been in the dental industry for years and years. I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you guys from a background standpoint because they both come from very different backgrounds. Dustin's from Baton Rouge and Liz is from Minnesota, way up north.
Minnesota.
I don't know how we got you down here. It's just the guy that Dustin is, right?
Don't know
There
how.
it is.
The things
There
you
it
do
is.
for a man.
But we're excited to have them because we get to have our first married couple that also runs a business, and they're going to talk about the obstacles that are involved with that, plus all the pros that go along with that as well. We're going to cover a multitude of topics, and just knowing with Dr. Dustin here, this could go in a multitude of different directions. So this is going to be a fun one today for sure. I'm going to start you guys off, and Liz, of course, ladies first. We're going to start you off, and just tell our audience a little bit about where you came from, and then I do want you to include what caused you to want to go into the dental industry to begin with.
So, like you said, grew up in Minnesota, born and raised. My dad was an engineer and my mom was a nurse. And when I was little, I think I told her I wanted to be a nurse like her. And she said, no, if you want to go into healthcare, you're going to be a doctor. Like, she was not standing for me to do anything less. So she always kind of elevated me. And I think what I found is I kind of took the best of both of their careers and made it my own, sort of the engineering technical part, and then the healthcare patient part, and dentistry is where I found myself. So.
And you are exactly that mix, by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when I look back on it. So I always kind of knew from a young age I wanted to be in healthcare, and then, just kind of aptitude and things like that you find along the way. Dentistry sort of found me. I was lucky enough to go to school at a university that had a dental school, so I got to see it before I really committed, and I really fast tracked. I only did 3 years of undergrad. That's kind of just how I roll, is when I know I want to do something, it's like full speed ahead. So I graduated from dental school when I was 25 and really just kind of hit the ground running. I was in Minnesota until 2016 when I met this fine young man over here. Thought I was
used to be fine.
Thought I was living, my happy little life. I had a small practice in the suburbs of Minneapolis, and just sold everything and moved south. I was tired of the Minnesota winters, and I don't know. Looking back, my faith wasn't where it is now, but I just believed that was God guiding me, because I never really questioned what I was doing, even though everybody around me thought it was so crazy.
Dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My parents were horrified.
Was it all?
Until they met him. Okay. He can be very charming. So he won them over pretty quickly. But yeah, I never really questioned it. It just always felt right. And, we didn't plan to be where we are right now, but I'm just listening to what I'm supposed to be doing.
It's amazing how that works out, that you didn't plan to be in this spot.
Absolutely
and
not.
Look where you are, right?
Yeah.
Dustin.
Yes, sir.
Your background, tell our audience who you are, a little bit about yourself, and really why you decided to go into the dental industry as well.
Yeah, mine's not quite as interesting as hers. It's a little on the boring side, but I'll give you what I got. I grew up here, failed basketball career. Like everybody else, just wanted to play in the league. I got no knee story to share. It just wasn't meant to be. And since I've retired, in case you were wondering.
You did retire, yeah.
So please don't contact me about that. But yeah, so grew up here. I never had any thought to leaving, and that wasn't because of I didn't want to. I just never really thought about it, and that's something that we're actually hoping our kids think about. and not that they can't come back. It's just that I just was here. It was just I was going to go to school at LSU. I was going to go to LSU Dental School and probably couldn't have got in anywhere else. So just happy to be where I am. And trucking along, there's been a lot of things happen in life. I've been overall pretty lucky and overall privileged for the most part. But yeah, everybody's had challenges. And then when I met Liz, things changed a lot, and mostly for the better, right? And so there has been obstacles, and yeah, you want to talk about the obstacles of working together, and then the positives. There are no obstacles, so we really don't need to spend any time on that.
Yeah.
Go straight to the positives and all the good things. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
So what brought me to dentistry? It's actually kind of an interesting story. I'll try to not to put y'all to sleep, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So the first 3 semesters at LSU, I was undecided. Just got a lot of courses under my belt, made pretty good grades, and I ended up taking a test. And the test was supposed to match your interests with your talents and everything else. And it said I should have been an actor or a model. So I like to think I am that every day. And but the one thing on the test that I did was they had a manual dexterity part. And the lady told me, like, I've never seen anybody score this high on that. And I don't think it was necessarily because I have great hand skills. I think they're pretty good. But it was, I actually tried. And I think a lot of people get in there and they really do it. And I actually focused. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it as well as I can. And so that was what I did. And then so my father is a dentist in town, and my mother is a licensed clinical social worker. And I really was kind of deciding between those two things. And the thought was, I could do dentistry, or I could do both. I felt like I could do both. But having to sit there and listen to people all day, I knew I was incapable for a lot of reasons. But probably the biggest reason was I couldn't sit here all day and listen and not fall asleep. I've had sleep apnea issues my entire life. These used to, it's been a lot better. But that was an issue. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to have to do dentistry. And I say have to. I finally talked to Dad about it. And fortunately, it was never something he pushed on me. And when I finally brought it up to him about thinking about it, he was excited. He was really excited. I think you'd be great at it. And so that's really kind of how I ended up there. It was like, let me just start on this path. And if something deflects me along the way, hard enough for me to notice, then I'll change paths. And I just didn't have to, fortunately.
I wonder how many in your field can honestly say that sleep apnea played a part in pushing you in that direction. Yeah. Really. You are definitely one of a kind, first of all, but that may be a one of a kind as well. For sure. Real quick before, I know Dr. Owens has a couple questions for you guys, of course. Tell everybody how you met.
Okay.
Got to do it.
I get to speak because he'll tell lies.
All right.
He'll tell lies.
Stories vary greatly.
No. I knew a colleague of ours, Rick Aiken, and I had met through some like continuing education things. And so when we had a conference together here in New Orleans, he invited me to a group dinner. Said, I'm from here. I'm going to plan this dinner at Antoine's. I've got 20 spots. I want you to come. Okay. I said, okay, sure. I'll be there. And so I go to the dinner, and I had actually already met Dustin's dad through some continuing education as well. And we ran into each other at the meeting. He said, hey, my son's here. Like, you should meet him. He's funny, whatever. So I get to the dinner, I sit down, and across from me is this guy. And so I sit down, and I'm kind of like under the table checking my phone. And I was actually texting my mom to check on my dog because she was watching my dog for me. And he looked over at me, and he said, tell your boyfriend I said, hey. So I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to get through this dinner with this total jerk? And
that wasn't the only reason you thought I was a jerk.
Fair. Anyway, so we ended up talking and having a nice time, and we hung out more that weekend. And I thought, like, I'm never going to see this guy again. And we kept in touch, and he flew me down here for an LSU football game. Called in all of his favors. We got sweet tickets. I mean, it was this amazing game against Florida. We were walking around on the club level.
Oh yeah.
And he said, "Hey, there's a patient of mine over here. I want to introduce you to this patient." And so we walk over. It's a really tall guy and his wife, an older couple. And turns out it was, remind me his name.
Jim Taylor.
Yeah.
Pretty big name.
Yeah. So got to meet him. He let me try on his Super Bowl ring and his MVP ring. Yeah. And, he played for the Packers, whatever. He played for the Packers, and I'm a big Vikings fan. So it was a pretty funny coincidence. So I think that's how he won me over.
That's pretty awesome.
That's my version, which is
Anything
the
to add to
correct
that, Dustin?
version.
So the way the story actually went
Not true.
is she and Dad talked. Dad said, make sure you sit by Dustin. He is all those things, funny, handsome, smart, all the things. And so I go to the mystery room to get a drink, and I get back into the dining room, and there's only one spot open because she was holding it across from her, vacant intentionally, fighting people off. So I get to the seat. Well, I guess I have to sit here across from the pretty girl. So I sit across from the pretty girl, and then a little while in, as she's playing with her phone on the table, it's really her foot playing footsie with me.
Sure.
So there's, I can see how she would think that it was her phone, and I said that, but it's not the way I remember it.
Of course not.
Shocking.
And then one thing led to another.
Well, on that same subject, let's talk about obstacles for a second. All right. So y'all start practicing together 2018, is that correct?
Yeah, like end of 2017.
Okay,
I think.
2020 in this absolutely gorgeous building, which for our viewers, if you're in the Baton Rouge area near Blue Mountain and Perkins, I'm not going to get into this to my involvement with the practice right now, but one of the things that I love about the potential to come work here is just it's a gorgeous space. But anyways, looking at being a couple that owns a business together, would you mind shedding some light for us on the obstacles associated with business ownership together, and then some of the things that you've done to break through those obstacles?
You want to go first?
Is that a test?
No.
That's one of them, see?
I will go first.
Ladies first. Here we go.
So I think the biggest struggle that I have sometimes is I can be kind of demanding and direct. I don't know if you all seen
Sorry.
that side of
I
me.
like that. I like
No
that.
idea what I'm talking about.
Just striving for excellence, baby. That's
So, I have my relationship with Dustin as my husband and my best friend and my confidant and my person, that I go to for everything. And then I have my relationship with him as a business partner. And sometimes, you can't really separate those two, but sometimes I need different things from that person. And sometimes that person is giving me different things. And so for me, it's just been kind of, how do we respect our marriage and our relationship on that side, but still get the things I need from him as a business partner. And kind of, sometimes I try to look at it like, okay, if this was Sean, my other business partner, how would I approach it? So sometimes, that line always gets blurred. And I think, we've both experienced, I think everybody in their marriage has good days and bad days. And it can be very difficult for us to leave the bad days at home. And so the staff can feel it if we're fighting about what happened at breakfast and things like that. So that's something we work on actively. We don't keep it a secret that we see a counselor. We were with her yesterday, and she's really helped us kind of navigate how we talk to each other and just kind of what's going on inside that we don't always do a good job of expressing outside. So that's been really helpful. Yeah.
That's definitely the biggest hurdle, obstacle, is separating work life and home life. And they blend in a lot. And the challenge is making it fair at both places and making sure that you're in the role that you're supposed to be in at the right time and being there for each other. And it's hard when you're thinking about work and it was a tough day and then you go home and you have to push all that out, or try to push all that out.
So we look at the business itself. Our office here is very similar to most dental offices. We're a female-heavy staff. Can y'all dive into the pros and cons associated with that?
Absolutely not. I'm not going to talk about that all
Yeah, Liz, I'd like you to answer that. Yeah.
I'll take that one.
That'll probably be safe. Yeah.
I mean, my whole career has been working with all women, as, being the leader of a bunch of women. And so it's something I've learned to navigate a little bit better maybe, but it can be difficult because, we have that kind of mom and dad relationship where it's like they can kind of see us in those traditional roles, and he's the disciplinarian and I'm the friend, and they come to us in different, from different points of view. There's a lot of drama and, gossip and things like that I can sometimes get, inadvertently drawn into that they would leave a man out of. And it's a delicate thing, I want to be friendly with my team members, but I don't necessarily, I can't necessarily be friends with them.
Yeah.
So I think I have to walk that tightrope a little more closely than probably y'all do.
And you, for our viewers who don't know you, you're an alpha, okay, and you always have been. I'm married to one. I know what that looks like on the female side, And I know the difficulties that my wife has gone through in being an alpha, and I'm going to say, but being a female, and nothing meant by that, but it is the difficult combination in our society, especially in the South. I think it changes things a lot, right? You being from Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's different here in Minnesota.
Just a little bit. So talk to our viewers a little bit about that. I don't know, that journey, where you don't want to be, you're not trying to be one of the guys, but at the same time, it's not about guy or girl. It's about leader and authority figure, and that. How have you managed that?
Probably not very well at times. I think just being the woman in the office, there's this expectation of who you're going to be and what you're going to offer them, and what they can come to you with, and the level of understanding I'm going to have with what they may be going through, and just my personality and how I was raised and where I was raised. It doesn't necessarily match up. Those two things just aren't the same. And it's like expectation minus, what is it again? When expectation and reality aren't the same, we have conflict. Yeah. And so there's been a lot of conflict over the years of, they're expecting kind of the warm and fuzzy woman to take pity on them and feel sorry for them if they had a bad day. And in all actuality, I'm very bad at that. So it's just, I've had to learn to be a little softer and be a little more feminine and be a little more understanding. And at the same time, raise them up and let them understand that, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to run this business. There are expectations that I have, and if they're not met, we're going to have problems.
Okay. So we do this with every guest, and we have 5 pillars here at TLW that we basically base everything that we do on. And I gave you the list earlier. Honor God above all else. Discipline is diligence. Value people over profit. Lead through service, not self. And build legacy through integrity. And I asked each of you to come up with which one did you feel like stood out to you. And I don't know if y'all ended up telling each other which one it was. I said it would be kind of cool to see what happened. So Liz, as always, ladies first, which one of the 5 stood out to you as far as how you live daily?
Mm-hmm. Discipline is diligence.
Okay. Why?
Was mine. I liked it. I am a very disciplined person. I'm very regimented. I like a routine, but it kind of reminded me of kind of just like some of the things I've learned over the years. Like I quit drinking several years ago and did some work with AA, and it's that progress, not perfection, and one day at a time. And it's just sort of like doing those little things every day, nothing flashy. It's not like I crushed this 2-hour workout today. It's like I worked out 5 days a week. This week I got up and did my workouts, or I, read my scripture today, or whatever it is. It's just sort of like that every day kind of choosing to do those little things that nobody really sees and don't seem to matter, but kind of add up to like, great life, hopefully.
So, and that's every day for you, right?
Yeah.
And Sean's going to get into this a little bit in a minute, but for you specifically, okay, if you choose discipline as diligence, and you mentioned your battle just a minute ago, how important was it during that time?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I can go back to that time and say it was there at that time.
I'm talking about really
right
today
now.
for you.
Yeah. That's what it brought me to, was sort of like every day I have to make the decision, like I'm not going to take a drink today. Yeah. And that might not, like, you go to a party and somebody's not drinking, nobody really thinks anything of it anymore. But for me, that's like a constant decision that I have to make, and a choice that I have to make sure I'm choosing each day. And then everything else kind of comes after that. It's like the workout, it gets rid of some of the anxiety that I've had that triggers me to want to have some alcohol to take the edge off. And, spending some time with God is just a way to kind of calm my soul and make sure that I'm not, running crazy and living on fire all the time. So to me, it's just, it's everything.
It's amazing that you were willing to share that, by the way. So thank you for that. But because that is as full transparency as you're going to get, and to see where you are now is a tribute to your discipline in that.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Dustin, which one did you choose?
I like valuing people over profit because quite simply, I think if you do take care of people, the profit comes. So it really one can lead to the other. And then aspirationally, I would like to put God first in everything I do. Can't say I do that now. No, not that I don't try, but that could be something moving forward that I do better with.
Okay, so you choose value people over profit, and typically, as a business owner, you would probably view that from a customer standpoint, right? I really want to help this customer. I'm not necessarily just looking at them as, cha-ching, right?
Yeah.
How does that same approach apply to your staff on a daily basis, from your eyes?
Yeah, and I don't think it has to, but I think it should, and that's ideal. You want to treat. I mean, we have one of our core values is faith first, and I think you need to apply that to everybody that you're involved with on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a patient, whether it's a team member, the mailman who comes in, and maybe a patient who comes and interrupts us after hours because she can't get something to work, and she's a sweetheart, and like, you know what, we're going to help her out right now. It's very important, and not to say that I'm the best at it. I want to be much better at it, but each individual we need to treat as if they're our family member and do the best we can with that, because everybody's going through stuff and everybody's day-to-day battles are different. And,
That's right.
more we can see the positive from everybody, the better.
Love it.
All right, speaking of day-to-day, Liz, you touched on this a minute ago, talking about habits. Are there any specific habits, routines that y'all look at as have-tos every single day? And if so, would you mind sharing with us real quick?
Besides brushing and flossing?
Obviously, dental office, that's 8 times a day, I think.
Yeah. You want to go first?
No, ladies always first. He said
Always? Okay.
Always.
He said always.
I mean, I do take like a day or two off a week, but exercise is a must for me. Just, emotionally more than anything. It's not so much about like, how you look or whatever. It really keeps me grounded. So exercise is a must. I do tend to get up about 30 minutes, 45 minutes before I really expect myself to do anything. And I like to just sit quietly in the dark and drink my coffee and pet my dog. And I kind of like to ease into the day. So it's really important for me. And then, just with us having small kids and that season of life, we don't, we're not there every single night, but almost every night it's bath time with our youngest and it's reading books. And that's just such a treasured part of my life that I miss it when it's, if we miss it and we have something going on. Those are all kind of the must-haves.
Yeah, so Levi is, our second son is 2 1/4 right now. And just the last couple weeks, it's been kind of sad. He hasn't been sitting right next to you and cuddling with you and letting us read him the books. He's wanting to just get all riled up and running around the room and playing with his little lightsaber and making crazy noises. So it's been sad because that was one of my favorite parts of the day, is just winding down and then reading a book to him and him just sitting there quietly and letting you read to him. But I wouldn't say I personally have a day-to-day habit that I feel like I have to do outside of brushing and flossing. But it's more of a weekly thing for me, as long as I'm checking the boxes enough, like when it comes to exercising and working out, as long as I'm doing that 3 to 5 days a week, depending on the week, that's usually where I'm going to feel good. My energy level is going to be good and feel like I'm the best version that I can be for everybody.
You've made some changes over the past year from a physical standpoint with what you were, some targets that you were aiming for and the way you went about that. Tell our viewers about that and why you decided to make the changes.
So he wouldn't allow me on the podcast until I got below 200. And so as soon as I hit 199, I brought it up to him. And then he made me wait another 6 months. But no, I made a bunch of changes, and I can attribute a lot of those to thanking you for it. And so, we've worked together for, a year and a half, close to 2 years now. And it's been a lot of changes, especially to my morning routine. That's kind of where we started. And I was very hesitant to
You
do
were
it.
wide open to it. Let's just say that. Yeah.
We told him many times it wasn't going to work.
I
Wasn't gonna
couldn't,
work.
I
Not gonna
couldn't
work.
believe he bought in. I could not believe it.
Yeah, so I very much disrupted everybody's morning routine, and she's like, I am used
Remember
to.
when I said sitting in
Yeah.
the dark?
Yeah.
I like sitting in the dark and hearing no noises, and
It doesn't
I
make your
kinda liked it when
conversations
you
at
were-
4 a.m. now. It's fantastic.
I think I'm at my cap right now. 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I can't do any other than 5 a.m.
That's still great, man.
I
That's
turn
still
into a
so
zombie.
good. That's so good.
Let's talk about the importance of creating work-life balance, which we all know that from a time standpoint doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay. But just the idea of making the time that you have with your family as quality as possible. And there's something else I'd like y'all to talk about as well, that I actually didn't have on the agenda, but I'd love for y'all to talk about it as a married couple, because
The
y'all,
sex life is good.
y'all,
Okay.
here we go.
And it,
I'm sorry. I thought that was what you were gonna ask.
But, do I need to start over?
Yeah, you did.
I need to
No,
start
that's
over.
gonna be in there. That's gonna be
epic, man.
That's everybody needs to know.
I'm gonna start over. Okay? I'm gonna start that part over.
All right.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm gonna do it again. So might as well not.
I'd like to,
You certainly won't.
Get your ass beat. All right.
I'd like to pivot and talk a little bit about the importance for you guys of creating work-life balance. And we know from a time standpoint that it really isn't realistic, it doesn't exist. But when you're with your family, when you're with your kids, making that as high quality as possible. And then there's something else that I want you guys to touch on as well, which I didn't have on the agenda originally, that you guys got to experience together here recently from a standpoint of the hike that you went on. And I'd love for y'all to talk about that and just the idea of doing things like that together as a married couple outside of the office and things like that. So if y'all could kind of touch on both.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Work-life balance is tough right now. And, the further I get with having 2 kids versus having 1 and them, the older one is in school now and there's school functions and there's activities and, there's a lot of women around me that don't work, that mom is their full-time job. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's amazing. I just know that, for me, I really do love to work and I want to keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm pulled all the time, every day. I just, I have that mom guilt. Am I doing enough? Am I doing a good job here? And then am I showing up as my best self? I always kind of joke a lot of times on my way home from work, I'll stop at Starbucks and tell the barista, I'm headed off to my second job for the day, getting home with the kids. So it's a challenge and I don't have any answers for it right now other than, it's like we were talking about with discipline is diligence. It's just I have a lot of bad days, but the next day I'm going to get up and I'm going to try to do it as well as I can the
That's
next
right.
day. I wouldn't say that I'm doing it well, but I
You're
do
doing just fine.
try to
Yeah.
keep, I try to keep my phone I don't do a great job of it. I try to keep my phone away when my kids are around. I'm one of my, I don't love resolutions, but New Year's resolutions or goal for the year is spend one-on-one time with each kid every week.
Love it.
It's easy not to do that, you
Yep.
know? So those are just some little things that I'm doing. And then as far as the hike goes, it was a really cool experience we did together where we hiked up this mountain. The number of times it took us to get to 29,029 feet.
Where were
So we were in Vermont, like a ski hill. This organization, they rent out these mountains and it's a weekend thing. You have 36 hours to just keep climbing. You take the gondola down over and over again until it's like you've climbed Everest. And, I went into it kind of, a little, I didn't think it was going to be that hard. I thought I run marathons, this is going to be easy. It was not. It was not easy. I was dead set on quitting after we did 11 out of 17 climbs. And it was 11 o'clock at night and I was freezing and so tired and so nauseous. And we went into sleep for a few hours and I woke up and I just said, I'm not going back out. I'm done. And he was like, get up, you're going. And I people maybe don't believe this because I'm such a, like you said, such a bulldog most of the time, but I would not have done it had he not been
How about
there
that?
to push me.
That's awesome.
And we did the whole thing together, short of, about a half a climb.
Almost the whole thing,
Almost the
yeah.
whole thing. And it was just so cool. I love that kind of thing. I love endurance events. That's not your wheelhouse. And like I looked at him probably on the 16th climb and I said, you know, you can do anything. This is really hard. And he just never quit. Like there was just no doubt in his mind. It was such a cool thing to be able to do together.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was a special experience for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of time and effort to get there, but we did it. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, awesome.
Work-life balance.
Yeah, work-life balance. Y'all just want to hear her answer and move on? That's fine. I don't need to talk. Sean's already ready to go to the
Long
next
pause
question.
on your part.
Yeah, long pause.
Go ahead, let's hear.
So I totally agree with you. Balance is a comical word to use when it comes to that. It's maybe a healthy imbalance at best, right? And we all could do better at it, like you said. I think we're both doing just fine. But yeah, it's very important. I mean, one of the reasons that quite frankly I chose this profession, not being a podcast guest, but being a dentist, is for that purpose. You know, our clinical hours, we can set basically what we want,
Right.
and you know, we're very intentional about the way we structure our days and our weeks. And within the day, you know, we like to do our most productive, most tedious stuff pretty early. You know, but everybody's a little bit different. You know, it depends on the day. So if you happen to have an afternoon appointment, we'll be okay. Don't worry about that. It's a matter of limiting the clinical hours because it's hard what we do. People don't think it's hard, but it's physically and mentally it is very difficult. And so if you can have it limited to where you're not doing it all day, every day, you're not going to burn out. You're going to do as good of a job as you can. And so, yeah, it was very intentional towards that. And being able to get home and spend some time with the kids. And yes, it lingers over and we talk about it more, but we're at least not physically here. And we can physically be there for the kids.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
Any advice that y'all have for busy professionals raising a family?
you asking for yourself or are you asking?
Well, maybe.
The general public. Yeah.
Help them out so you can help me out, okay?
I mean, I would say years and years and years ago, before I was ever married or knew him, my mom told me, like, when you have kids, you have to remember that they're just visiting. They're only with you for, 18 years.
It really is true. Yeah.
And I, I can see how easy it is to just wrap your whole life around those tiny humans because they're wonderful and there's so much that goes with parenting that is amazing and they are very needy. And so I can see how that happens. And we are pretty intentional about, keeping our relationship really at the forefront. And the kids are obviously super important to us, but we still try to make time for date night. And like I said, we work on our marriage. And I just think that that's really important to make sure, when the days of raising kids are over and, it's still just going to be the two of you. So that would be my piece of advice for somebody who is definitely not there yet.
Yeah. I'm going to steal a quote from a show that we were watching last night. We won't say what show it is and when it was, but it's kids don't have logic, but they care who shows up. And, we're always going to try to be there for our kids. But then I think the other side of that is you can be there too much for them, right? So we've seen that with some of our friends and other people. And you see a lot with people where you call them the helicopter parents, or whatever you want to call them. And, sometimes kids need to learn things on their own and they need to be there for themselves and by themselves and learn things on their own sometimes. So it's always finding the right balance with that, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a dangerous question.
I can't
Oh,
wait to see this.
Lord.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask it anyhow.
Yeah. You want me to leave?
We can
I'm gonna ask it anyhow. Liz, we're gonna ask you first, of course, ladies
Oh,
first.
of course.
Dustin, we're gonna let you end this thing with a bang, my friend. Okay. So if you had to look, you're sitting across the table from 18-year-old Liz Kidder, who's in Minnesota at the time. And you could only offer one piece of advice. And you know what you know right now, up to now, okay? But 18-year-old Liz Kidder has no clue. What's the one piece of advice that you would offer?
Just trust in God or trust the plan. I have everything I could have ever dreamt of or wanted when I was 18 years old. and none of it came when I wanted it, and none of it looks the way I thought it would look. If you'd given me a map of the United States and said, you're going to live in a different state,
Yeah.
Louisiana would have been like number 49, I think. Like, I just don't think that was
Maybe not
ever
Mississippi.
on my radar. So it's like, yes, 18-year-old Liz pictured herself married with 2 kids and running maybe a dental practice, but it didn't look like this in my mind. But it's so much better than probably I could have planned it, you know? So it
That's awesome.
just is like, you're going to get everything you want. Just, you know, be patient and trust that it's not necessarily going to be in your control. I have a little bit of an issue with
Maybe
control.
so. Maybe so. Yeah. Okay, let's hear it.
I'm gonna very much underwhelm with
Oh,
this
that's
answer
okay. It's
because you set it up way too poorly. Dude, I can't say anything right now.
Let's go.
It's gonna meet expectations. But look, part of me just says, don't change anything. You know, I am the way I am because of what I've been through and what I've
Love
seen. And I would, yeah, there's a ton of things I'd love to go back and change. Not current marriage and work and all that.
Good
But,
answer.
you know,
Good answer.
that's-
Yeah, yeah.
So
This is
just
good
to be
cleanup
clear,
there.
just to be clear.
Yeah, yeah.
We were both our own worst critic, and so we can go to deep, dark places real fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really wouldn't change anything. The one thing that I would urge myself to consider would be get uncomfortable more often. And I think that, especially when we're out and we start making money, and I've been practicing now for almost 20 years, it's just, you elevate certain things. You know, you travel and you get used to seeing and eating places and staying at places that are nicer than they used to be, right? And then where does that stop? And we live life so comfortably that would be my take, is just get your ass out there and be more uncomfortable more often.
Yeah, and it's a great lesson for your kids too, who aren't where you are right now.
Right.
Right, exactly.
No, it's a worry because I think about the stuff that I had to do growing up for chores and for allowance and all those things, and our kids don't have to do barely any of that stuff.
Right.
Like they're not even gonna know how to push a lawnmower, you know, that kind of stuff. We got to figure out, you know. So there's other things that we have to get them to do.
So amazing that both of you were able to join us today. We thank you so much for being on. This has been a very unique experience, not just because of the new setup and not because of the having you as a married couple, but because of the different dynamic that each of you brings, for sure. Which, you know, if you've ever heard the phrase "opposites attract," right? It is so true. It is so true in so many regards. But I think at the same time, yeah, you can be opposites, but you better have some stuff in common as well, right? And you guys prove that on a daily basis. So for Dr. Sean Owens, for Jace Augustus behind the scenes, for Doctors Dustin and Liz Kidder, we will close it here from the TLW Podcast. Go get it.